Have you noticed how everything feels more expensive, harder to afford, and just heavier than it used to be? Maybe you've caught yourself saying, "I'm working harder than ever, but I'm still struggling." If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Across the United Kingdom, the middle class, once seen as the backbone of stability and comfort, is quietly collapsing. For decades, being middle class in Britain meant security. It meant owning a modest home, taking a yearly holiday, saving for the future, and maybe even helping your kids with university. But that dream is slipping away. In today's UK, the middle class is being squeezed from both sides: rising costs, stagnant wages, and an economy that seems rigged for the few at the top. So what's really happening to the British middle class? Why does it feel like no matter how hard you work, you're falling behind? Let's start with the basics. The middle class has always been defined by a sense of comfort, not luxury, but stability. A steady income, home ownership, education, and a bit of leisure. But over the last 2 decades, that comfort has eroded. The cost of living has risen dramatically, while wages have barely moved. Essentials like housing, energy, food, and childcare have outpaced salaries by miles. For many, the math simply doesn't add up anymore. Take housing, for example. Home ownership was once the ultimate symbol of middle-class success. But in today's UK, it's become a luxury that fewer and fewer can afford. The average house price has soared, while real wages have stagnated. A generation ago, a young couple could buy a home on a single income. Now, even with 2 full-time jobs, it's often out of reach. Renting isn't much better. Costs have exploded, leaving many middle-income families spending half their earnings just to keep a roof over their heads. Then there's energy. In just a few years, the UK has faced some of the sharpest rises in energy bills in decades. Families that used to enjoy small comforts, heating the house properly, running appliances freely, are now forced to ration their energy use. Winter has become a season of tough choices: heating or eating. It's a phrase that's become painfully common across all parts of the country. And it's not just the big bills. The everyday costs of life: groceries, transport, insurance, broadband, childcare have all gone up. Everything is more expensive, but pay packets haven't kept up. The result? A growing group of people who earn too much to qualify for government help, but not enough to live comfortably. These are the forgotten middle, the people who do everything right but still feel like they're sinking. This slow decline didn't happen overnight. It's the product of decades of political, economic, and social change. Since the 1980s, the UK economy has shifted dramatically. Manufacturing, once a major source of stable middle-income jobs, has declined. In its place came service sector jobs, often lower paid, less secure, and more vulnerable to market shocks. Meanwhile, housing policy and financial deregulation turned property into an investment game rather than a human need. Wealth grew at the top, while everyone else tried to keep up. Education was once the key to upward mobility, a ticket into the middle class. But now, even that path is uncertain. University graduates are leaving with tens of thousands in debt, entering job markets that offer lower pay and fewer benefits. Skilled trades and public sector jobs, teaching, nursing, social work, were once respected middle-class professions. Today, they're underpaid, overworked, and undervalued. The very jobs that hold society together can no longer guarantee stability. The middle class is also burdened by debt. Credit cards, personal loans, and mortgages have become survival tools rather than luxuries. Many people rely on borrowing just to cover basics: groceries, bills, or childcare. For families that used to save each month, saving has become impossible. One unexpected expense, a car repair, a boiler breakdown, can throw everything off balance. Meanwhile, wealth inequality has widened dramatically. The richest 1% now owns a massive share of the country's wealth. The stock market booms, property prices soar, but for most people, wages don't budge. The economy might grow on paper, but that growth never seems to reach the pockets of ordinary people. It's as if there are 2 economies, one for the wealthy and one for everyone else. And then there's the psychological toll. For many middle-class families, the struggle isn't just financial, it's emotional. People feel betrayed. They did what society told them to do, got an education, worked hard, paid taxes, and played by the rules. But instead of security, they're met with anxiety. Anxiety about bills, about the future, about whether their children will have it worse. The British middle class, once a symbol of stability, now feels deeply unstable. It's easy to blame individuals' poor budgeting, lifestyle choices, or even laziness, but that's a distraction. The truth is systemic. The economic model that once supported the middle class no longer works the same way. Productivity rises, but wages don't follow. Corporate profits soar, but workers see no benefit. The safety nets that used to catch people, affordable housing, strong unions, public services have been weakened. What used to be a ladder of opportunity is now more like a treadmill. You run and run, but you don't move forward. The result is a society where the gap between rich and poor grows wider, and the space in the middle, the space where most people used to live, is disappearing. The middle class is being hollowed out. Some are falling into poverty, while others cling on by a thread. A small group moves upward, but even they live with fear that one bad year could send them spiraling down. But here's the thing, the collapse of the middle class doesn't just affect individuals. It affects the entire country. The middle class has always been the engine of economic stability. They spend, they save, they invest, they vote. When they suffer, the whole economy weakens. Fewer people can afford homes, fewer can spend on small businesses, and social mobility grinds to a halt. And yet, despite the struggle, there's resilience. Across the UK, people are adapting. They're finding side hustles, building small online businesses, moving to cheaper towns, or embracing minimalist lifestyles. Communities are rediscovering the value of local trade, mutual support, and self-reliance. But these individual efforts can only go so far. The truth is, rebuilding the middle class requires systemic change: fair wages, affordable housing, strong public services, and policies that reward work, not just wealth. The collapse of the UK middle class is not just an economic story, it's a human one. It's the story of millions who did everything right but were left behind by an economy that forgot about them. It's about lost security, fading dreams, and the quiet fear that tomorrow might be worse than today. But it's also a call to action. Because understanding what's happening is the first step to changing it. The middle class may be struggling, but it's not gone, not yet. There's still time to rebuild, to restore balance, and to make sure that the next generation doesn't inherit a future where hard work no longer pays off. So, the next time someone says the economy is doing fine, ask them, fine for who? Because behind every statistic, there's a real person trying to make it work in a system that's slowly pushing them out. The collapse of the UK middle class isn't just an economic crisis, it's a warning. And if we ignore it, the consequences will reach far beyond the middle.